These are visuals of the Indian capital. Flags, chants, and thousands of protesters clashing with barricades, tear gas, and lathi charges. So how exactly did we end up here? In May 2026, approximately 2.3 million students sat the NEET UG exam. Allegations began circulating that the paper had been leaked in advance. Students demanded an investigation. Opposition parties accused the government of failing to secure the exam, and the National Testing Agency found itself under intense scrutiny. The NTA, established in 2017, has conducted more than 240 exams for over 5.4 crore candidates. Even a parliamentary standing committee noted that 5 of the agency's 14 major exams that year had faced serious disruptions. The committee warned that these repeated failures did not inspire confidence amongst the examinees. It especially didn't help when the government had to enlist the help of the army to conduct the re-examination.
जब देश में एग्जाम पेपर को बचाने के लिए एयर फोर्स बुलानी पड़े तो समझ जाइए कि पेपर लीक से ज्यादा सिस्टम से ट्रस्ट लीक कर रहा है.
This is Chief Justice Surya Kant. He had already become a polarizing figure after his court ordered the withdrawal of an NCERT textbook that mentioned corruption in judiciary, amongst other institutional challenges. Then on the 15th of May, this happened.
There are youngsters like cockroaches. They don't get any employment. They don't have any place in profession. Some of them become media. Some of them become social media. Some of them become RTI activists. Some of them become another activist. And they start attacking everyone.
The remark quickly went viral, and the next day the CGI claimed that sections of the media had miscoded him. The internet responded with memes, satire, and mockery. But for some, the response went beyond jokes. One of them was Abhijit Dipke, a Boston University graduate who on the 16th of May launched a satirical X account called the Cockroach Janta Party. Within 4 days, it had amassed a larger Instagram following than the political party it was parodying. The same week, their X account is restricted in India, their Instagram is hacked, and their original .org website domain is blocked. On the 24th of May, environmentalist Sonam Wangchuk publicly called himself an honorary cockroach. This was the first instance of his name being attached to the CJP. Wait, why him?
You can argue it's because he's a well-intentioned educator, or that he has some personal gain to get from this, either of which could be true. Either way, this man has fair reasons to speak out against the current regime. Here's why.
In 2019, Article 370 was revoked, making Ladakh a union territory administered directly by New Delhi without its own elected legislator. Ladakhis feared losing decisive control over their land, jobs, and resources. The Leh Apex Body and Kargil Democratic Alliance united behind 4 demands: constitutional safeguards for Ladakh's land and tribal identity, statehood, stronger political representation, and protections for local employment. After years of stalled negotiations, tensions reached a boiling point, and protests erupted in the region. One of the movement's most prominent voices was Sonam Wangchuk. He argued that the centre had promised constitutional safeguards when Ladakh became a union territory, warned against unchecked developments in the fragile Himalayan ecosystem, and insisted the movement was about protecting Ladakh, not opposing India. On 24 September 2025, authorities claim a section of protesters broke away from the main demonstration, attacking a BJP office, vandalizing the Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council office, and setting a police vehicle on fire. Police say they opened fire in self-defense. 4 civilians were killed, a curfew was imposed, and internet services were suspended. Wangchuk immediately condemned the violence. Yet just 2 days later, he was detained under the National Security Act. He spent 170 days in Jodhpur Central Jail while his detention was being challenged in the Supreme Court. By the time the Cockroach Janta Party emerged in 2026, Wangchuk was no stranger to public protest. I haven't been putting out videos recently to better focus on my business, but this event, this movement, was too interesting for me to pass up. I didn't want to read about it, I wanted to be there, I wanted to see it for myself, I wanted to experience it. So that's exactly what I did, the day after the Delhi Police Commissioner was replaced. That morning, while Sonam Wangchuk was still on stage continuing his strike, plainclothed officers surrounded him with white sheets, lifted him from the stage, and took him to Safdarjung Hospital, citing medical concerns and a Delhi High Court notice. Organizers Wang Chuk himself and his wife all described this as forced removal. And with Parliament set to reconvene on the 20th of July, the organizers announced their biggest action yet. I spent 2 days at the protest site, but I see no point in emphasizing the sit-in itself. You've seen enough footage, you've read enough articles, and you are simply aware enough to have already drawn your own conclusions by now. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to spend the next 15 seconds talking about how fascism works by Jason Stanley. Stanley claims that a recurring tactic of fascist politics is to blur the distinction between enemy of the party and enemy of the nation. So I would like to play a game. It's called Spot the Anti-National.
Protesters today are calling for the resignation of India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan after the गर्मी की वजह से उतारा गर्मी की वजह से उतारा सही रीजन पक्का बस बिल्कुल यही रीजन
told that it was quite violent the way it was. So that's there, and people still in civil dresses who are appointed by the Delhi police, by the state, are still moving and they are here.
The plan was simple. March from Jantar Mantar to Parliament. Everything after that was not. Confusion broke out. Tens of thousands of students gathered, but very few seemed certain which route the march was actually supposed to take, while barricades funneled people elsewhere. The government limited movement, communication, and unleashed violence towards the students. Video circulated online appearing to show damaged vehicles already positioned near the protest site before the march began. Another video appeared to show a truck loaded with rocks parked nearby before the march, prompting protesters to question how they got there and why it was there at all. Then came footage appearing to show police officers damaging property and dismantling the protest's main stage. Organizers accused Delhi police of blaming protesters for damage they claimed officers had caused themselves. As protesters moved towards Parliament, barricades gave way, lathi charges followed, tear gas was fired, and arrests mounted. Throughout the day, Delhi police maintained on social media that no police brutality had taken place. For this entire duration, security personnel removed their name tags. When asked why, a representative claimed it's because of the heat. Following the march, CJP announced that this guy had been removed from all official responsibilities after he had broken his fast on the day of the march. He maintained that he was not accountable to the protesters. On the other hand, right before the march, two CJP representatives sat across the table from BJP rep J.P. Nadda, who claimed he will discuss their three demands with senior leaders. Since then, Dipke has claimed that the interaction was meant to waste time and encourage poor management of the march. The protest formally came to an end on the 25th of July. The union government accepted the movement's principal demands. The education minister resigned. The government announced 1 crore in compensation for the families of aspirants who died by suicide. They promised legal amnesty and the withdrawal of cases against protesters. On paper, the movement had won. But as I'm making this, these families are still waiting to receive compensation. Several cases against protesters still remain active.
The Supreme Court has clarified that the states, including Delhi and other states, will be at liberty to withdraw the FIRs or close the FIRs or file for closure reports in any legal method as possible.
Not to mention that this man is now leading India's education department.
But do you feel, you personally feel it was okay that they were released? Or
I have said no. When the government and the concerned people have taken decision, I don't want to make any comment on that, and I don't find anything wrong in that because it is done as per the process of the law.
One important point, Kapish, that this generation, let me tell you, they are not asking any handouts or any favors. They are just seeking a level playing field, the quality jobs, a transparent system, predictability, and of course, a chance to fulfill their potential.
That's retired Major General G.G. Dwivedi. You may have seen him on television or read some of his work.
There is a serious crisis of confidence among the young people that I teach because they are not very certain, given the kind of unemployment, given the kind of intense competition. I think that's one area that we need to build up confidence among the young people, that their future is very bright even if they are here and they don't go abroad. The source of discontentment has to be addressed. The rising cost, as I said, unemployment, and we can't have young people moving out in large numbers. And finally, how can a nation become great if its young people are outsourcing their aspirations?
Regardless of what happens next, the CJP has proven its cultural impact. It normalized a form of youth-led mobilization that operated outside political parties. It demonstrated that sustained public pressure can force concessions. Since these protests, activists across the country have begun protesting around individual issues. And international observers have described the movement as a democratic turning point. The protests serve as a reminder that power, however permanent it may seem, can still be challenged.